Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the worst liberal-run news media outlet out there today, the leader in fake news in this world, none other than CNN. Specifically, we're talking about a piece and a video coming from one of their worst anchors named Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo has been accused of mind reading in a new video, and I think it's rather relevant and interesting and worth dissecting. This happened last week when he was interviewing one of those people from that St. Louis couple who was forced to defend their homes from those radical BLM protesters who came into their private property and threatened them with violence. Here we're going to see a story where Chris Cuomo tries to almost defend those protesters and also make Trump look like he's supporting that couple because of racist and biased reasons. It gets really ridiculous today, but before we even get to the takes in the video and the story, we have to explain the whole mind reading thing. Mind reading is a very, very important term to learn right now because a lot of liberals seem to think they're mind readers. They think they're like Professor X from the X-Men, like they could tell what you're thinking, they know how you're feeling, they know who you hate and what you want to do and all this stuff. Like this happens a lot on the internet right now, and it's happening on television too. In this story we're going to get to go over, it's CNN's Chris Cuomo claiming he can read President Trump's mind. He doesn't really say it like that, though. They kind of sneak it in and kind of say, you know what he's thinking. He acts like he knows what Trump's thinking, but no one knows what Trump's thinking, believe me. And you can maybe guess, but to just claim you can know his intentions and what's behind them is where things get a little ridiculous. And that's where we get to this whole mind reading thing. Mind reading is where these liberals think they can tell what you're feeling and thinking, and it happens all the time. Like it happens to me. I've seen it happen on Twitter every day. And basically what they do is they go, oh, well, you said this about this group of people, so that means you hate them. Or, you know, you were thinking this when you said that. Like they try to act like you have these racist intentions and these racist feelings, but they really don't know what you're thinking. They just kind of think. And then that's why they do things like they say, so you're saying, you know, they rephrase what you said in a different way to kind of imply they know what you were thinking beforehand. And it's just a sneaky, slippery way of them to kind of put words in your mouth, like pretend they know how their opponent feels. And it's also just a way to frame them up and make them look bad. It's obviously never done in a positive way. Like it's never done in a beneficial way to their targets. Like they're always trying to make them look racist and offensive. And that's what brings us to today's story. This first came from a tweet at the Daily Caller. It says, Cuomo, Trump retweeted the video of Mark McCloskey because he liked the image of white resistance to this Black Lives Matter movement. McCloskey responds, I'm glad you're a mind reader because no one else thinks you are. Perfect response. This McCloskey guy is the guy who defended his home. He's the one that's become a meme now along with his wife. Total hero, if you ask me. I mean, they used their Second Amendment right perfectly legally, and they defended their home, which they have a beautiful mansion in St. Louis area, and they're really, really great representatives of good Americans trying to defend themselves from these crazy protesters. Like everyone's trying to defend them, but they're doing violent things. They're threatening people. They're coming in with weapons. Like this guy in the video eventually says there were weapons pointed at him, and he's at his house. They're on his private property. They're well within the rights. And the fact that Cuomo wants to turn this around and make it like Trump is supporting white resistance. I mean, how does this even have to do? There's not anything to do with race in this. Like, this is just a group of people trespassing and then another two people protecting their home. There's no white resistance. Like, yeah, they happen to be white. They're resisting these illegal people breaking into their property, but it doesn't mean like this. Like, they put it in this phrase of white resistance to act like it's some kind of like white supremacy or we're racist, we hate all the other races, like all that crap. It just has nothing to do with that. So, with that said, let's check out the video and see what they have to say.
About what you need to do. Mr. McCloskey, go ahead. Last word to you.
All right. Guy stands in front of me, pulls out two loaded pistol magazines, snaps them together in front of my face, and says, "You're next." Okay. If you were there, Chris, I think you'd feel like you had a right to defend yourself as well.
Absolutely. Somebody takes out magazines or ammunition and clicks it and makes a direct threat to me, I would feel threatened 100%.
And that's what happened to me.
And look, I know that you're going through a process with this. I welcome you having counsel.
Chris is so disingenuous too. Like he tries to agree with them and then he just totally backpedals it now and tries to explain it. He actually will question whether or not the guy claiming something was pointed at him. He questions his claim, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with questioning someone's claim, but he just kind of agreed with it, and then he backpedals, and then he pulls this whole white resistance thing. It's really disingenuous, and he's like, he tries to act like he's cool. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, Chris always wants to seem cool. Like, he wants to seem like he's the cool guy. He always shares pictures of himself working out. And there was this one time he accidentally, like, they had this staged moment where he supposedly accidentally was like naked behind his wife while she was filming something. He is just totally ego driven, terrible person. Like, he's going to backpedal all this.
Counsel, if you were within your rights to do what you were doing, it should be adjudged as such. I wanted to talk to you about the broader implication because it's just a horrible picture of what's going on in America right now. So to me, it's not about what's right and what's wrong just in a court of law. It's about what we want right and wrong about how we treat each other. And that's why the president retweeted this tweet. Mr. Watkins, you know it. And Mr. McCloskey, you know it. He retweeted it because he liked the image of white resistance to this movement.
So he doesn't just act like he's reading the president's mind, like putting this whole thought in there that was never said or stated or even implied. But he's also going to these guys. He's like, you know it. You know it. This is about white resistance. They're going to deny this because they don't think that. And it's just, Chris just looks like a big bozo. He's telling everyone what they think. Like, he can't really come up with a real argument. He has to get all emotional, and he's trying to defend this movement, like acts like it's just this innocent movement that didn't do anything wrong. It's like, dude, they threatened this guy with violence. They broke into his property and he defended himself. And Trump tweeting an image of that has nothing to do with white resistance. It's about, people defending themselves from crazy liberals who are trying to take over the country. Chris Cuomo is one of them. He's one of the crazies. He's one of their faces on the news defending this crazy news and this crazy story. And he's just mind reading everyone.
And I'm not saying that was fair to you, but we know that's why he did it, because that's why he deleted it. I wanted you to speak for yourself.
I'm glad you're a mind reader, because no one else thinks you are.
Oh, in fact, he didn't delete it. Good. Makes my point even more. No. You didn't say that. It was said to me for me. I'm thinking.
So Cuomo just totally ignored what he said. This guy's getting fed up. He actually ends up putting his arm behind his chair. He's like changing posture, showing how uncomfortable and upset this is making him. Like, Chris Cuomo is being a total doofus. Like, he doesn't even address what he just said. Like, this guy just freaking owned him and said the mind reader line. Chris doesn't even see it. He's just like smiling like this, like, oh, in fact, he didn't delete it. Like, he's addressing someone else that's talking in his ear, not even on the show. Like, dude, you're not even hosting your show right. Oh my God. This is a CNN primetime host. His show's called Primetime. Cuomo Primetime. And he's like responding to something else, like, oh, I just got owned. I'll just ignore it and respond to the voice in my head. It's like a crazy person. I know they have like a earpiece and someone's talking to him, but it still just looks like he's a crazy person. And he has these like bug eyes. He's like smiling and stuff. But it's like, dude, what you're saying, he said, we know this is why Trump did this. We know this is why he did it. And I know you know that, and you know that. And it's, dude, you don't know any of that. None of this is true. This is all fake news. This is all theater.
Thinking about something else where someone was screaming white power in a video that the president retweeted. He deleted that one. He didn't delete the one of you. I wanted to give you a chance to speak about it. We both know you don't have to be a mind reader to assess a pattern. You're not a mind reader either. I haven't seen the video of the person clapping the magazines, but you drew certain inferences from the behavior before you.
What? So now he's doubting the guy had seen someone clapping weapons in front of him. He's doubting that claim. And he's also saying that guy can't read the person's mind of the weapon clicker, except those people were saying they would kill them and take them down. They were saying lots of crazy stuff at this house in St. Louis. Trump didn't say anything about white resistance and all this crap. Like he said, Cuomo tried to defend it, saying you don't need to be a mind reader to follow the pattern. Like, just what's the pattern? What are you talking about, dude? There's no, unless he says he's supporting white resistance, you don't know it. You're not mind reader. You're not a freaking psychic. You're not Jean Grey from the X-Men. You know, I know all my mind reading examples are from X-Men, but you know what I mean? This guy is just such a joke.
I'm doing the same thing. We've seen behavior before us. I'm making a judgment. I'm sorry that you are caught in it the way you are if it's not what you intended by all of this, Mr. McCloskey, and I wish you good luck. Mr. Watkins, thank you for representing your client. Appreciate you taking the opportunity.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Be well. We'll be right back.
So this guy is just such a douche, man. Like he just lied to them. He did this mind reader thing. He's got this dumb face when he's about to go. He just was defeated because this guy owned him with that mind reader joke. And then he couldn't even respond to it in time. He just said something else. It was so cringe. And the other thing is just he tries to butter him up at the end. Like he's like, oh, I know you didn't want to get wrapped up in that with Trump. And it's like, first of all, there's nothing to get wrapped up in. And second of all, you're doubting these guys and treating them like crap on your show. Like, don't try and kiss their butt afterwards. Like, it's so phony. It's such a phony, fake crap. Like, he's just like, oh, I know you didn't want to get involved in this. Like, oh, thank you for your time. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Wow, thank you. Like, dude, you're phony. You're fake. You're such a fake, Chris. It's so obvious. This video is so over the top and cringe, and a perfect example of mind reading. Like we were saying, now we can really see how mind reading fails in the moment. Like people try to pull this on posts, on videos, on Twitter, and it's not as easy to identify because you can just say something and it might take a while for someone else to respond. But to see it happen in real time here is really interesting, and it's just funny because it comes from this airhead Chris Cuomo, and it just makes perfect sense because this guy, the McCloskey and his associate, they're hardcore, they're legit to me. And I think it's even been found out that this guy is actually a liberal and he supports Democrats. Doesn't matter. Like he's on the right side right now. He's standing his ground, defending his home. I bet you he might even vote for Trump this year after all this stuff's happened to him. But the point of the matter is these guys are right. They're the smart ones. And they're owning Chris. They give him this total line to his face saying, hey, you're mind reading people. You're mind reading Trump and us. You're telling us what we think. You're pretending you know what Trump thinks. Like he said he knows. He wasn't saying I could guess. He wasn't saying he could make a judgment or inference, which is kind of how he tried to backpedal it before. No, he said he knows. And these guys called him on the spot. And how did Chris respond? Well, he responded to a voice in his head. He responded to something else. And then he comes back around like a minute later and tries to respond. And I think that's just a perfect example because it shows, for one, this is what a mind reader looks like. It's a dumb person who can't listen to the people talking in front of him. They don't listen to what people actually say. They hear what they want to hear, and they say, oh, I could tell what you were thinking, though. That's not the words you said, but I know what you were thinking. And that's how Cuomo is. Cuomo's a total airhead, totally useless, just a total waste of space. And this is the perfect example of it. We got mind reading beaten down, and we see how dumb people are that mind read like him. They can't host their show properly. They can't respond to actual criticism in real time. This is all falling apart for CNN and Chris. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to get this thing shared. Make sure you also subscribe if you're new. Check out the second channel, NoBS News. And until next time, have a great day.